We are the creators of reality. Those who have mastered perseverance, those who thrive despite attempts to thwart us, those who make magic at the root of the very trees they hung us from. We are the mountains and the rivers. We are the sun and the moon. We are sand and gems. We are the first and the final. We be big and small. We be light and dark. We be seasoned and youthful. We be sensual and sacred. Those gifted and divine. Those powerful and radical. Those vibrant and ancestral. We are the creators of reality. We are the Black Oasis. Welcome to the Black Oasis podcast. I'm your host, Kai Supreme, and this is the place where we lay it all down. Today, this is the very first time that I will interview someone that I've already interviewed, but so much has taken place since 2020 when he was on episode 5 of season 1 that we had to catch up because he's doing big things. He's evolved in numerous ways. I mean, we just gonna run through as much as we can and get the updates. But this brother is extremely special to me. He is an elder to me as far as artistic production, creativity. He is an artist. He's an MC, visual artist, tattoo artist, professor, father. I mean, the list just really goes on. I mean, like, honestly, we are extremely blessed to have his presence on the podcast. So, ladies, gentlemen, non-gender conforming friends, introducing the divine Joe Stu. Woo, 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 woo,
Thank you.
woo.
I appreciate it. When you say it like that, it makes me feel old, but thank you.
Ooh, well, listen, I wouldn't say old. I would say seasoned.
Seasoned, definitely.
Seasoned.
With the salt and peppers here.
Yeah, it's giving zaddy vibes. Like,
I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it. I'll take what I
trust
can
me,
these days.
you're fine. You're fine. But we just want to, catch up with you, see what's new, see what's popping. You have become a whole professor, in the meantime at Clark Atlanta University. So why don't you just give people your own little background of who you be, what you do, what God made you to do, etc.
My name is Joseph Stewart. I go by Joe Stu and other many names, Chitope Bala, Ediye, Muganza, but Joe Stu for now. I was born in the Bronx, New York, many moons ago, and came down to Atlanta to attend the great, illustrious Clark Atlanta University, where I acquired an art degree and came back and doubled back and got a master's in African American Studies years later after that. And there was a whole bunch of journeys and turns in between there. Learned to tattoo. Shout out to West End Tattoos. Shout out to all the places I've worked at and circle back to. But yeah, that would be a good base. And as a hip hop artist, I mean, growing up in the Bronx, hip hop was all around me. I know that sounds very cliche, but I remember being on a bus going to kindergarten and kids asking me what's my tag name. And I'm like, they call me LJ at home. And they're, getting the schooling there. So it's always been ingrained in me. But as an MC, I'm also a part of Soul Food Cypher, which is a nonprofit organization focusing on freestyle lyricism and changing the rap on rap, as we like to say. Yeah. That's going strong. Shout out to Cost One and all the brothers over there and sisters of Soul Food Cypher. That's been a great organization to be a part of, and a great family to be a part of, to be honest with you. And I'm also an educator, not only a professor, but I also teach visual arts for K through 5 at Campbell Elementary right now, Fairburn. So, enjoying that. I'm an artist at heart, so in all fields. And I think, being a Sagittarius, we like to dip and dabble everywhere. So,
There's some, Sagittarius is.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so why don't you, since the last time we spoke, and, I'll just give a little reminder to people that he helped produce 2 videos and an entire poetry album that I released.
And I got to double back on that. So I'm ready when you are.
And I'm ready.
Okay.
In 2018, okay? And so in 2020, there was a lot. First of all, I'll just say this before we do anything. This is one of the hardest working men that I know. I don't know anyone who is consistently moving, fighting, pressing, birthing. You know what I mean? Like people talk about women giving birth. Men give birth too, right? It may not be a human being out of his physical body, but he births spaces. And from the moment I met you, you've always had something that you're inviting me to or inviting other people to do. And I watched you literally put your hands on the gifts and talents of the people that I journeyed with at Ndugu Nzinga. And for a long time, it was just like, oh yeah, I'm about to go see Baba Chapa. I'm about to go see Baba Chapa. And that was the way you gave us the God in you, you know? So you do that everywhere you go. You are consistently yourself everywhere you go. The work is just unmatched, you know? I don't know any other grind. Like, there are so many moments, like Toppings, album release party, in East Atlanta Village, you know, like there was just always a function, and you have been nothing but consistent year after year after year after year. You know what I'm saying? No matter what you're going through in your life, you are always trying to manifest the gift that God gave you. So I just want to honor you for that.
Yo, thank you. It makes me feel full. I appreciate that.
I mean, you're doing there are a lot of people who are walking around unaware of what God wants them to do, unaware of their purpose, but you see it, you live it, and then you manifest that thing. It's really not, it's not a joke. It's like you walking the walk, talking the talk. So it must be honored. But why don't you just tell us about your journey being a professor at Clark Atlanta University thus far, what you teach, and how that's been transitioning into that professor role.
Yeah, I am an adjunct professor at Clark Atlanta University teaching hip hop studies, which I believe is one of the first classes on hip hop. I again attended Clark Atlanta University for graduate school and for undergraduate school. So for me, it's a timeless honor to kind of give back to it. My experience has been great. I teach hip hop as an entire culture. So I don't just focus on rapping or MCing. I focus on DJing. We look at graffiti. We look at breaking. We look at hip hop dance and the difference between hip hop dance and breaking. Right now we're covering fashion. We've covered Dapper Dan. We've covered everybody from Dapper Dan up until Kanye. And this has been a great experience to kind of reconnect generations, but also to see how vast hip hop is as well. So I think the greatest thing about that experience is seeing students who now are open to the fact that, oh, this really is a culture. Like, it's not just about the rapper that I see on the TV screen. It's actually a dancer. Oh, I didn't know breaking is in the Olympics now. Oh, okay, great. Oh, I didn't know that they did a whole skyscraper mural in LA. Oh, wow. So, you know, connecting those dots is really the gift and the reward I get from it.
So you mentioned, first of all, I didn't know that breaking was in the Olympics. So that's totally new for me, and that is dope. But then that made me immediately think about your son.
Yeah.
And seeing how that legacy and that love for hip hop has now transitioned into your offspring. What is that like? First of all, it's the cutest thing, but he's like an excellent, like, it's not like, oh, look at the little kid trying to dance. Yeah. No, like, for real, break dancer.
He's nice with it. It's really, I try to hold back my joy because sometimes I get so engrossed in it. And I don't want to become that dad that's like, you gonna break dance every Saturday. So I'll try to like take it back a little bit and have him enjoy it as much as he can. But the backstory to that is, of course, I was hosting an event for Soul Food Cypher, and we were hosting a breaking battle. It was like a 7-on-7, and I had no babysitter at the time, so I was like, he coming with me. Now, mind you, he's one in a stroller. But he was a disciplined kid. I had I had his little cousin with him. So I was like, hey, watch him while I'm, you know, on the mic doing my thing. And he saw these guys going, you know, at it with the battle. And I think he just was transfixed. And he unsnapped himself out of the stroller and walked over and started doing a little, you know, two-step. And it, you know, became, you know, a big deal. Wow. But I think what really also kind of got engrossed, he started watching B-Girl Terror. And if there's anybody in the breaking world who's familiar with this, B-Girl Terror started out at well, at least we were seeing her in tournaments at 6 years old.
Wow.
And she's, over in the UK, but her influence just really blossomed. So he, was watching, I would put, her on, because he wanted to see it after he had actually done it, but there was no one his age. And for him to see another, someone close to his age, he was like, oh, I could do this. So he just started practicing headstands, like out of nowhere. And, we all thought it was cute until he actually did one. And then, we put it on Facebook, and someone reached out and said, hey, take him to Honey Rockwell. And Honey Rockwell is a dance academy focused on breaking. Shout out to her. And also shout out to Toma Fit, because my man Quick, he definitely has his own school as well. And, Nasir has attended both.
Yeah.
But he's really blossomed under Honey Rockwell. He's done battles, tournaments, and he's turning 6 next week. So,
wow.
It's to answer your question, it moves me to tears. Sometimes I like try to, like hide them back. But yeah, I'm really proud. We got a chance to actually perform together at a Red Bull event this past summer. So
my gosh.
That was like, I was like, I'm good. I'm really good. I'm really good. My son's doing head spins. I'm rapping. I'm good.
I'm gonna have to get some footage and insert it.
Definitely.
He's too cute and too disciplined. I was just talking the other day when a child has the opportunity to like discover a passion that early on in life, they have nothing but unlimited space and time and opportunity to figure out the process of maintaining excellence in that passion. And so he's gonna have way less stress and grief as someone who's in, their 20s or 30s and they still don't know what they want to do yet. So kudos to you for also nurturing that seed because, hip hop, right? Although it comes from, a very spiritual place in our culture and a spiritual tradition in our culture, it has morphed and evolved, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know you to be a man of standard and character and principle.
Sometimes.
To the best of to the best of our
we
abilities.
all fall.
But I mean, you just rattled off a proverb that changed my life like 10 minutes ago. So it's in you, right? How do you contend with, some of the spaces that hip hop goes and still having, a standard and a message to bring and deliver for Black people?
Well, first I want to say shout out to Nasir's mom because she also helps with that too, and I think it takes two to make that work. So you need a village. To answer your question though, on how do I stand within my standard, even in this world of hip hop, I think there's 3 things. One, I'm not afraid to just act my age. I think that's something that really doesn't come across. Or I think it's finding a challenging growing point right now in hip hop where we just turned 50 as a culture.
Yeah.
And now we're also starting to see entertainers or MC, that are in that same age range, but are still producing at a high level.
Yeah.
And I think that is it's a real changing point for hip hop right now. And I think that's a great thing because it gives the genre room to grow. Mm-hmm. As far as myself though, what I also know is I have to answer to a community.
Yeah.
And I can't be out here saying just any old wild thing without somebody saying,
sir.
So I know that in the back of my mind that I have a foundation that's going to hold me accountable.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that can be missed and sometimes is a miss within hip hop, where there's not a lot of accountability.
Yeah.
There's not places where we can check each other and say, hey, bro, that wasn't called for.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it'd be okay as opposed to now it's another war or battle. So, and then lastly, I think emotional maturity.
EM.
That has, that comes at a cost. Like you have to work at that. And I'm glad, even though, I would love a little bit more change. God, thank you. But I'm glad that I didn't pop off in my 20s because I wasn't emotionally mature enough. And not to say that every 20-year-old or someone in their 20s is not, but I just know for me, I needed more growing. And to be able to do that outside of the view of everyone, I think was very beneficial because your mistakes can live on forever now. And that's it's a really scary thing because people grow and they move past their mistakes. They move past where they were even a year ago. So to have that encapsulated as your identity can be very costly.
Yeah.
So,
and I think I always get nervous, or what I see is like when social systems mix in with spiritual systems, right? That there's a corruption that takes place because it's like human beings interrupting, like poetry, hip hop, all these art forms, painting, pottery, like whatever, jazzercise, whatever your art form is something that I think is a piece of God. You know what I mean? But then when you start to make it about money, right? Or make it about album sales or streams, and artists should be paid, you know what I'm saying, what they're worth, because they are giving us something that can't be replicated.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like people try, but even then it's not authentic. Like no one ever really succeeds stealing someone else's art. They really don't. But it's going to come out,
It's going to come out.
But ultimately at the same time, there has to be a balance. And so, at what, like for you, like, is this something that you're going to do for the rest of your life?
Facts.
How do you know that?
Because I've, it's something that I would do for the rest of my life. I don't know if that's answering your question, but I'm gonna rap. Like I'm gonna put out art. I'm going to do that. But I know that because I've come to the realization that that's who I am.
Yeah.
I can't hide from that. If I worked in a cubicle, I'm sure I would be drawing.
So when you see Andre 3000, who came out with a flute album this year, right?
Yeah.
Or not this year. When you see Andre 3000 come out with a flute album, he says, oh, I've aged out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, there's nothing left for me to talk about. What you want me to talk about? My doctor's appointments. Like, he doesn't have the inspiration anymore.
Right.
It's like, that concerns me. You know what I mean?
It does.
It concerns me because that goes against what I know to be true about a gift of God.
True indeed. But I like to give credence and a little bit more empathetic ear to 3 Stacks because he's been giving us himself since he was 17.
Yeah.
So, and now I don't know how, I think he's close to 50, right? That's a long time to be performing at that high level. And I give him that space to, hey, you want to flute out and get that out your system.
Yeah.
Or not even get that out your system. That's your new manifestation of the artist that you are.
Yeah.
However, he still won a Grammy off of a feature from a throwaway verse.
Yeah.
So what we really talking about?
Yeah, the gift is the gift.
The gift is the gift either way. You know what I mean? He won 2 Grammys off of a verse that, he was like, hey, try this out.
Right.
So, and that's what we want.
Yeah.
But you also have to give space for people's growth and people's time because more than I want an Andre 3 Stacks album, I want Andre 3 Stacks to be alive.
And healthy and well and happy.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I get that. And I guess, it's not so much that he made it. I love it. First of all, I'm going to say this. I went to see me and Ziggy went to see the flute album in the movie theater.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Right. Like we just watched him, listened to his own album for like an hour. So,
wow.
I'm a big supporter of it. And I want him to, I want anyone to do anything that they feel like, represents their self-expression. It's the story behind it, whereas you minimize your life experiences, like they're not going to be something that could be tangible or useful to people.
True indeed.
That was my only concern. I was like, you can't age out,
I
want to hear about your doctors. Like, tell me about what you experienced in the doctor's office, because you might be coming across some type of, health inequity, right? And then,
that's true.
Or promoting Black men to go take care of themselves. Talk about it.
Yeah. I hear what he was saying in that sense, but I also understand that where his mindset is at.
Yeah.
And especially being an artist myself, like there's sometimes I don't want to rap. I just want to produce.
Yeah.
Or I just want to paint. Yeah. Or I just, want to do something else. So I have that freedom to do that because I don't have millions of people
watching
me and my every move. And when you gonna drop the album? When you gonna drop the album? When you gonna drop the album? So I think there's another level to that of anxiety that comes with that too, because there's another interview I think a lot of people don't look at, with his Rick Rubin interview, where he speaks about having anxiety of, just pleasing all of these people. But it's hard because people don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
You know, they want to know when the album coming. You know what I'm saying? When the album dropping. So they're kind of like, you know, awash with all of his own turmoil that he's dealing with. And I empathize with the brother because, again, if I had cracked off at 17, I don't know where I would be right now. I hope I would be alive and well and, you know, in good standing with people, but I don't know.
Yeah. It's kind of like when I say, you know, God didn't give me the body of an exotic dancer because I probably wouldn't be sitting on this couch right now.
Well, exotic to certain eyes.
To certain, in Nigeria though,
Hey.
bust down, okay? Drip, all right?
It's a Niger girl.
Right. I know my audience. But so talk to me about Soul Food Cypher now, right? Because Soul Food Cypher has gone. First of all, be very specific about what is Soul Food Cypher, okay? And where did the idea come from? And now where is it today? That might be a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. So to I guess, you know, summarize all of that. Soul Food Cypher was created in 2012 by DJ Cost One, Mark Montgomery, also Zano Bathroom. He's a rapper, producer as well, and also my man DJ. Good Lord, don't. We'll edit back and come back to this. But they started in 2012 at the Basement, which was a community center in East Atlanta. And it was basically like a meeting point for MCs to come freestyle, to do their, you know, deal in a cypher element. And if anybody doesn't know what a cypher is, it's basically a circle of MCs rapping, usually freestyling, sometimes spitting a written verse or whatever. But in the parameters of this organization, it was based off of freestyle rap, which is improvisation coming off the top of your head with anything that comes to mind. Just make it rhyme, like I did right there.
Yeah.
So one of the ways that Soul Food Cypher was growing was also doing after school programs, and we started at Kendesi. We also did a couple of programs somewhere else, a couple of other schools, satellite schools, and so forth. A lot of charter schools, and that was a way to cement how we could pass that down from generation to generation. And I think that's one thing that hip hop definitely kind of is lacking, is a source of mentorship. So we've seen MCs come through after school programs, and now they're in the cypher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that kind of like sees how the building block, you know, adds on to that. So to say where we're at now, Soul Food Cypher is a monthly event. It is we also do satellite events, or we go out to different, you know, sometimes we get requisitioned to do artist events at, you know, different festivals and so forth. And that's been a great experience for me because it's allowed me to perform in a way where, you know, when I was releasing a lot of music, that could be costly. And you put a lot out there because you're investing in yourself, but working as a unit, working as an organization has like really opened up doors that I wouldn't have been able to open up by myself. Yeah. So it's been a great experience. Shout out to Cost One. Shout out to everybody involved there. I jumped on board, I think around 2017. And it was actually by accident. Like I didn't realize that, you know, I was going to be a member. But they were, Soul Food Cypher is also in the Guinness Book World Records for having the longest cypher ever. I think it was like a 24-hour cypher. What? So this was during A3C. I came down and I remember standing in line. I'm thinking, wax these guys. Nothing. And when I got there, I was like, oh, they're all killers. So it humbled me in a way. But it also grew me as an MC, and that's one thing that I credited for.
Man. Y'all check out Soul Food Cypher.
Check us out.
You must check out Soul Food Cypher. And even in the pandemic, they were consistently interviewing people. It was a source of inspiration. Yep. It was a source of hope for folks because there was a way that we were connected. I mean, it was the coolest setup. It was coolest setup.
We need to bring it back.
And where can they find you now? Like, where are you in now on Sundays?
So we're every fourth Sunday at Create ATL, which is in the West End. Come through. We rock from 6:30 to probably 8 o'clock, maybe a little bit over, you know, depending on how, you know, how the vibes is moving. But we're every fourth Sunday of the month, and, you know, come check us out. If you need to see us at an event, we always post our events on the website, Soul Food Cypher. check us out.
Okay. And so is there anything else that you're working on right now that you think people should know about?
So I recently did a production. I did audio production for the Trap Music Museum for George Galbraith's showing. It was about the Bluff. This was, I want to say, a few months back, but this was a great experience. I was able to produce the soundtrack for an art exhibit. So what we did was we interviewed several people who lived in the Bluff at a certain time and basically chopped up all their interview clips and put it behind some musical backdrop and also some environmental sounds. So when you came into the exhibit, you put your headphones on, and as you were looking at each picture, it was showing you or playing for you the audio that goes along with that sound.
Wow.
So it was a great experience. Shout out to George. Shout out to his wife, Sohei, who hired me on. And I think it was a great experience. It was great.
Fantastic. You also have some dope dollar bills.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Cultural Currency. Cultural Currency is a visual art series that I put together where I put African-American civil rights leaders, freedom fighters on dollar bills. And the concept came behind, I was teaching a class that students didn't know who Ralph David Abernathy was.
Wow.
But they lived on Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard. Yeah. But you couldn't point them out if you
seen a picture, yeah.
If you've seen a picture. So that was the aha moment to say, hey, let's make this an art project. And I started out with collaging. We would take pictures, old clippings from different, civil rights leaders. And it started out actually with Marcus Garvey, Shirley Chisholm. Mm-hmm. We also covered a few others, Martin Delaney. We covered Angela Davis. But with my second series, we all covered Atlanta civil rights leaders.
Yeah.
It's particularly those who have a street named after them. Wow. Because a lot of these students were living on these streets, but they didn't know the accomplishments of these great people who they were living amongst.
Wow.
So, we have a new series out. I was able to do an exhibit with the Trap Music Museum through Future Dead Artists. That is a gallery downtown at the Underground in Atlanta. Okay. So we did that. That was, I want to say a couple of years back, but it's been a great series. I'm working on an app so that we could actually use and combine and work with other local Black artists. Local Black businesses, excuse me. So these dollar bills can become coupons for these Black businesses. Yes. And students can use them. They can, actually get, affiliated with some of these businesses, and it's a way for those businesses to be invested into the education community.
And you actually have prints available.
Yes, we have prints available for purchase. Check me out, joestu.net. So, or DM me on IG. I have a Cultural Currency IG page now, thanks to Kai, who got me on point.
Sure. So, outside of the business, right? Because you're thriving, you're doing so much, you're doing so many different. I like to call heart work, right? Like
I like that.
You're doing heart work through your artwork, and you have different mediums in which you're communicating.
I'm gonna steal that bar. I'm gonna just put that out there. I'll give you some publishing, but I'm gonna steal that bar.
I'm an idea machine, so no worries.
I got you. No, I got you publishing.
We're actually really quite good. We're intertwined in a lot of ways. We're good. But I really want to talk just personally. Like, I've always been fearful, right? Like this fear in the back of my mind that my art won't sustain me.
Ooh.
And
it's a real feeling.
Yeah, and that I haven't, and because of that, it took me a very long time until I met you to really take poetry seriously, to even be bold enough to create something that's going to stand outside of myself.
Absolutely.
And then it became it really was like a healing medium for me, a healing modality. But then it evolved into something that, a gift, right? And so a gift for others. And so what do you have to say to people who might have an inkling? They might feel like, oh, it's too late for me. Or, I'm not going to make enough money. I'm going to be homeless and be hungry. Yeah. What has your experience been like persevering through being an artist in a capitalistic society?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Okay, I'll answer this in two parts. So one, don't quit your day job. I know there's a lot of, advice out there to go hard, go home. I don't think that's necessarily wise, because as artists, you can't depend sometimes on,
Right.
when that's going to come. And sometimes you have to make your art your hustle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not so much that it cheapens the value of it, but it also sets you up in a certain structure where artists now have to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You have to have a business mindset. You have to have a business. You have to have invoices. You have to have a business account. You have to have a representation. You have to have a lawyer. You have to have a website. You have to have all those things in place. And that's now a part of what an artist is.
Yeah.
So, even in the sense where, it can't sustain you, it's more so of when it can sustain you.
Right.
So working to that point where it gets there. Now, sometimes it gets longer.
Yeah.
For some people, but that's all about, a lot of different varying factors. Sometimes it's your discipline. Sometimes it's your connection. Sometimes it's your opportunity. Sometimes you might have missed that time. But the second part to that is this. I saw a post recently that gave me some peace. Tajay from Souls of Mischief, which is a group, a legendary hip hop group out of the Bay Area, part of the Hieroglyphics crew. He gave out a post about how sometimes it's okay to just rap. Like sometimes you don't need to be rapping or doing your art for a specific goal to achieve. Sometimes you just need to do it for mental health.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, not to bring it back to the Cypher, but that's what it was for us. Sometimes we were getting together and we were rapping, but sometimes it was about the camaraderie. It wasn't about, well, yo, you got that deal? Yo, can I get you a feature on this? Can I, hold the camera for me? So, it wasn't all about that, not all the time. But it was really about the healing that you get from not only sharing your art, but getting to express your art.
Wow.
So if you held all that in, you would be miserable because your creative muscle would be unused. So it's very important to still use that creative muscle, but also when you get to that point of taking it from an expression to a source of living, know that what comes along with it is this certain structure. Yeah. And structure is a hard lesson I had to learn.
As an artist.
You have to learn that art. You have to learn that as an artist. You got to bump your head against the wall a couple of times. You got to take a couple losses. You got to miss rent. You got to, I missed the bill. You got to hit those lessons so all right, this is how I need to structure it. And this is also how I need to value myself. Wow. And that was another, thing I had to learn that hard work. What is your value? At this point, when you're creating for so long, right, for such a consistent amount of a period, well, what is your worth that you're bringing to the table? How much are you charging an hour? And is it comparable to, what's being offered out there? Or do you offer something that no one else does? Right. So those are the certain things that I've had to, figure out on my own, and also just be humble enough to ask.
Wow. Wow. And, you said something about value. And ironically, it's almost like a cyclical process. When it comes to managing your fear around creativity, your worries and your doubts, your value increases the more you create. Yes. So it's almost kind of like just jump off the cliff already and go, because, when you take steps toward, I would say, evolution, your self-evolution, your highest self, you place one foot in front of the other, spirit will manifest the next stepping stone for you, even if you don't see one in front of you. Yeah. That's something that I've experienced. Like, you never know. You just open your mouth. People don't know that you're an artist. Right. You just say you're an artist. You would be surprised the people who are looking to collaborate, contribute, especially in Atlanta. Unmatched. Yeah. Unmatched. I love the network. Everybody's trying to do something.
Everybody's trying to do something.
So knowing your value, you also develop a higher or a clearer sense of what your value is, what your values are, the more you produce work. So I ask everyone a question on Black Oasis. This is how we always conclude. And I'm curious to see if your answer is different. Okay. I'm curious to see if your answer is different from the first time. If you could go to sleep tomorrow and wake up,
excuse me,
no worries, wake up and have a wish come true, Like I Dream of Jeannie, like, like before they put you to sleep before you get a BBL. And then you just wake up and it was like, oh, did that happen?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that.
Sure. I mean, okay. but like literally like blink of an eye and have a wish for Black people come true tomorrow, what would it be?
Oh, that we would love ourselves.
I'm curious to see what he said the last time. I'm gonna go back and watch. But love ourselves. Why is that so important?
I think we like ourselves. I don't know if we love ourselves. I think we like being Black. I think there's perks with being Black. Of course, there's other things that come along with it that can be, attributed to be negative or drawbacks. But when we love ourselves, I think it puts a little bit more emphasis on how we treat each other and how we can come together a little bit more. Because it's really about being able to see the God in you and in that same other person. If we can see those similar traits, I think it'll wash away some things. But that might be a little too esoteric.
It's not. We're in Black Oasis. It's not esoteric at all.
Of course.
It's not. We're in the place where the water is supposed to cleanse.
There you go.
And I had this might be sidebar, I don't know, but I was thinking the other day about how well do I work with other people? And the thought that came to my mind is the more that I've learned to love myself, the less conflict I've had with other people. Mm-hmm. And ironically, I think because artistry creates such room for people to be their full selves and try things out and figure things out, there's a joy that comes along with being an artist, with birthing something, with being a little version of God in real time. And working and collaborating with other people, you get to learn and see how you fit in and how you show up. I mean, you're helping sustain a system, right? You're helping sustain a community, a culture, in multiple places, but Soul Food Cypher in particular. And there's like background work that has to go along with it. Yeah. And I'm curious, like, it's like, I know there's a whole bunch of different artists, a whole bunch of different experiences, and they have to come together and unify. And I know that the more those people that you work with love themselves, the easier a time it is to birth that session every fourth Sunday.
Indeed. Yeah. And also what I want to say is, to that end, you said something that made me think about how well you work with others. One of the experiences I went through that helped me with that is Ndugu and Nzinga. Because it forced me to one, work with folks who I might not necessarily prefer, but it also allowed me to see the myriad of different Black folk that are around. Like there's so many different walks, the varieties, and from coming from where I was coming from, I was used to a one line scope. So being able to see all these different walks and still come together under one umbrella, I thought that was a great experience, and it helped me out in the long run, even in hip hop, in art world, everywhere.
Yeah, and finally, and this is what is to Ndugu and Nzinga, being able to also see yourself in many different mirrors.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like,
yes.
It's not going to be this. It's ironically not the same reflection each time, and like each mirror only gives you another piece of the puzzle that is you.
There you go.
But self-mastery really is the key to liberation, and self-evolution. And I think if everybody focused on finding and sustaining their love and respect for themselves, then it would be infectious, like a good disease. A good disease, but just like. Those little flowers, those weeds that take up gardens, but they're still kind of cute, like that.
I always thought that those were flowers, but they are actually.
They're actually to our dismay. But so just thank you, number one, for being here. Number two, thank you for living your life. You're living your life authentically. Thank you for creating spaces for other people to do the same. Thank you for educating. Thank you for seeing a need and filling a gap. Thank you for self-sacrificing. At the same time, thank you for self-care and taking care of yourself so that you can actually be a full vessel to give things, to nourish the places and people that you come in contact with. Just thank you for being righteous.
Oh, man, thank you.
Yeah. And not perfect. But thank you for being righteous.
I'm not perfect.
But it's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the process has required ebb and flow and flexibility. And one thing I know is that no matter who comes in contact with you, they laugh. Right. They feel comfortable. They feel safe. And then you have the ability to help them discover more about themselves, through something that's fun, art,
There you go.
So you're gifted and you're giving those gifts away. And we're just extremely grateful to know you. Thank you for all that you do.
And thank you. This has been great. It's filled my spirit. I feel so much better now.
Yeah, so much better. Okay.
Yeah.
Ashe. And we're just going to keep passing on the love. And then if you're watching this, then you go and tell somebody good things about them and why you like them and why they're great. And then we just wake up tomorrow and his wish will have come true. His wish will have come true. But thank you, everyone, for joining us for Black Oasis, another episode in. Thank you so much for your continued support. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell your mama, your daddy, your cousin, your granny, all of them people that there are Black people loving on Black people out loud, authentically, and there's a safe space to lay it all down. Until next time, stay Black, but you don't have a choice, and lucky you. Peace.